That shouldn't be so surprising. When you are spending all your time and energy trying to shore up your house, it's hard to believe all of your efforts are in vain. Indeed, if you believed that, you would stop trying to fix things and just let them fall apart. You might even grab a sledgehammer and begin to help in the dismantling process. Few of us are willing to grab the sledgehammer and dismantle our cherished beliefs, even when it has become obvious that they are not working anymore. We become attached to our own creations, and so the process of destruction happens unconsciously. Like an earthquake, it wells up from the depths of the psyche. It seems to come from some inscrutable outside force, yet it happens with our soul's blessing. The soul gets tired of upholding beliefs which no longer serve its growth, so it reaches for the sledgehammer, while the conscious mind is screaming, "Watch out for the earthquake!" Change always happens with our deepest blessing. No matter how much we moan and groan about our fate, we can be sure our soul gave its permission. For the soul is concerned with growth, and growth always means abandoning a restricted form for one that has more room inside. All beliefs are expanded in this way until they cease to be limited. So our conscious beliefs go from narrow to broad, and as they broaden, they empower unconsciously held complexes and defense mechanisms to surface into conscious awareness. This unconscious material is often at odds with our conscious experience, thus creating an inner ambivalence and tension that often undermines our plans and goals. Now, as these unconscious factors are brought into conscious awareness, the basis of our inner conflict can be acknowledged and released. As conscious attention increases, unconsciousness decreases. That, in a nutshell, is what the awakening process is all about. When our beliefs are very broad, when our minds are truly open, we accept most of the vagaries of human experience with caring and compassion. This caring and compassion is the mark of self-realized spiritual beings like Jesus and Buddha. Each one of us is going through the same process of waking up and expanding our limited beliefs. When we learn to let go of what is no longer working in our lives, we make room for new awareness and experiences. As Jesus said, you don't want to put new wine into old skins. You need new skins for the new wine, new beliefs to contain and express the new awareness. It all comes down to a simple question. Do we try to hold onto the past when it no longer serves our strength, our growth, or do we let it go and surrender to the possibility of a new experience? If we hold on, we will repeat our past experience in an exaggerated manner so that the pattern crystallizes and can be consciously surrendered. If we let go of our past experience, we begin to experiment with trusting a whole new belief about ourselves. That new belief about ourselves is the beginning of our liberation from limitation and suffering in our lives. If we can prepare a space within where that new belief can be nurtured and sustained, the true self we are can be born within us and in our world. To that end, we cannot look for reinforcement from without. Those who have supported us in our limited beliefs will not understand or be sympathetic to our birthing process. If we look outside of us for confirmation, all we will see is what is no longer working in our lives, all the roles that feel strange and uncomfortable to us now. The truth is, there is no place out there where we can fit in and be supported. We are the mother now. We are the one providing the safe womb for the fetus. We cannot look without for support. Instead, we must look within, find our strength within, believe in ourselves and the one who is being birthed through us. It is a lonely going, but it is the only way the old is relinquished and the new is born. Observing the observer. In our culture, knowledge is valuable, but knowledge is almost always about something or someone else. It is invested in the object of inquiry. It rarely turns its lens on the observer. Einstein, being a playful man, discovered that the observer was the one variable not being looked at. When he began to look at the one who was looking, a new world was revealed. And so the West discovered something that the East had known for some time. It's not just what you see, but how you see it, or what you see depends on how you see it. In other words, there is no reality apart from the mind of the observer. All the objects in the world are experienced subjectively by consciousness. Without consciousness, there is no experience. When consciousness leaves the body, the awareness of the world leaves too. If, at that time, consciousness is not aware of itself, death is experienced as an ending of awareness, since there is no longer anything outside self to know. If we want to understand the workings of the world, we will continue to study the object and how it behaves. If we want to understand the nature of consciousness, we will study the observer and how he sees. When we study the observer, we notice that the life he creates for himself depends on the thoughts and emotions he holds in his consciousness, whether consciously or unconsciously. Thoughts and emotions held in consciousness manifest outwardly as the events and the circumstances of one's life. This does not necessarily happen in a linear way. In the same way that dreams are multi-leveled and multi-layered, so are the events and circumstances of daily life, which are like a waking dream, composed of thoughts and feelings woven together as leaves and branches are woven together by the wind. The patterns appear haphazard, but they are anything but that. They are amazingly precise. The wind always has its way, quite specifically. If you knew its force and its direction and the resistance of the objects in its way, you could predict the changes in the landscape. But we will never know all of this, no matter how sophisticated our scientific instruments become. The wind, we know all too well, is unpredictable by nature. It seems to be coming from one direction at a certain rate of speed, and then its direction and speed shift. Gusts of wind, we call them. There are gusts of wind in the heart and the mind of the observer, perpetual changes of direction, impossible to measure or predict. The nature of reality is not random, but it is unpredictable. Only if you knew every factor in advance would you predict what would happen. But what are the chances that you or anyone, anytime, might know every factor in advance? Maybe not now, but not far from it. So are we to build our paradigm based on knowing, understanding that we will never realize it? Or shall we build it on not knowing, understanding that in our ongoing existence, understanding that is our ongoing existential existence. To even consider building our paradigm on not knowing is a blow to the ego and the powers of the intellect. It immediately establishes humility, individuality, and collectivity. It brings us out of our heads and into our hearts. It takes the focus off outer reality and shifts it inside. Now we are mindful of what we think and how we feel, because we understand that they are the content of consciousness, and we know that consciousness is creative. It will eventually outpicture, although we don't quite know how or when. Now, when things happen outwardly that we don't understand, we don't feel unfairly treated. We don't mope, pout, feel sorry for ourselves, nor do we blame others for what has happened. Instead, we look within. We pay attention to our thoughts and feelings without trying to change them or fix them in any way. We start tuning in, getting in touch with ourselves at a deeper level. And as we do, the process of manifestation slows down. We get to know the observer, and we see how the observer is influenced by the flow of reality. We see the conflict within our own consciousness, the conflict between what we think and how we feel, the conflict between our conscious goals and our unconscious desires. And we stay with all that in a healing way. We accept it, we deepen, we let the polarities inform each other. And resolution of some sorts begin to happen. Integration occurs in our act of being with our conflict. Our not knowing brings us into the mysteries of self, and enables us to profoundly honor our subjective experience. However broken and incomplete our experience feels, there is a healing space where the pieces are accepted one by one and gradually fall into place. When the observer is whole, everything he sees is holy. Heaven is not in the future, but here now. You cannot reach that state from the outside in. You cannot reach it through striving. You reach it only by accepting and forgiving everything that happens. You reach it only by deepening inside, by pulling the outside in and owning it all. When that ownership is complete, there is no more separation between you and anyone else. That is where all the enlightened beings are, in that place where you are and have always been. Not know it. Only now you know that you didn't know it.